Welcome, listeners, to the Monthly Show about the scary, the spooky, and the supernatural. Get ready for the latest in Baltimore.
Greetings, horror fans, and welcome to the latest episode of 13 Pods of Horror. For this month's offering, we are talking about one of the most visceral, influential, and straight-up unsettling movies ever made. Tobe Hooper's 1974 masterpiece, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And there's a reason why we're doing this episode right now. August 18th isn't just another date on the calendar for horror fans. It's officially Texas Chainsaw Day. Why? Because that's the day that the events of the movie supposedly happen. August 18th, 1973. The film's opening crawl, narrated by a young John Larroquette, frames the whole thing as a real tragedy that befell 5 young people in the Texas countryside. Directed by Tobe Hooper and co-written by Kim Henkel, this is a landmark independent horror film that redefines the genre through its raw realism, psychological intensity, and social undercurrents. Shot on a tiny budget in the sweltering Texas heat, it presents a nightmarish vision of isolation, family dysfunction, and the collapse of the American dream, while establishing many conventions of the modern slasher films. Despite, or because of, its minimal on-screen gore relative to its reputation, it remains one of the most visceral and influential horror movies ever made. The idea originated with Hooper during a crowded Christmas shopping trip at a Montgomery Ward department store. Frustrated by the throng, he spotted a rack of chainsaws and imagined using one to clear a path. The full concept, isolation in the woods, a family of killers, and the chainsaw was, as a weapon, crystallized rapidly. He and Henkel, of Wisconsin killer Ed Gein, particularly the use of human skin and body part artifacts, developed a script initially titled Leatherface. Financing came from Texas investors, primarily through former legislator Bill Parsley. The initial budget was around $60,000, swelling to roughly $80,000 to $140,000 by the end of post-production. Filming took place over 4 to 5 weeks in July and August of 1973 near Round Rock and other rural Texas locations. Conditions were brutal, temperatures often exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Actors wore the same unwashed clothes for continuity. Leatherface's masks and outfit were particularly foul, and the set was dressed with real animal bones, carcasses, and rotting meat that created an overpowering stench. Cast and crew worked for 12 to 16-hour days, 7 days a week. Some props included real human skeletons sourced cheaply from India. The production used 16mm film for a grainy, documentary-like aesthetic. The film was distributed by Bryston, known for Deep Throat, which handled the aggressive, based-on-a-true-story marketing. It premiered in October of 1974 and became a major commercial success, grossing around $30 million worldwide against its tiny cost. One of the most profitable films of its era. Despite bans or heavy censorship in multiple countries, including the UK, for years as a video nasty, it was later selected for the US National Film Registry and entered the Museum of Modern Art's permanent collection. As previously mentioned, the film opens on a quasi-documentary crawl narrated by a young John Larroquette, framing the events as a real tragedy that occurred on October 18th, 1973, involving 5 youths, particularly Sally Hardesty and her brother Franklin. Radio news reports of grave robberies, industrial disasters, violence, and social unrest set the tone for a world out of joint. Sally, played by Marilyn Burns, her wheelchair brother Franklin, played by Paul A. Partain, and friends Jerry, played by Alan Danziger, Kurt, played by William Val, and Pam, played by Terry McNinn, drive through rural Texas in a van to check out their grandfather's grave after reports of desecration. They pick up a deranged hitchhiker, played by Edward Neal, who behaves erratically, cuts himself and Franklin, and is thrown out. Running low on gas, the group stops at a gas station and later explores an abandoned family house nearby. One by one, the young people investigate the neighboring farmhouse and fall victim to its inhabitants, a cannibalistic family of former slaughterhouse workers. The hulking Leatherface, played by Gunnar Henderson. You know what? I'm going to turn you off. Am I still recording? Yes, of course I am. The hulking Leatherface, played by Gunnar Henson, wearing a mask of human skin and wielding a sledgehammer, meat hook, and eventually a chainsaw, is the primary killer. The family includes the hitcher, the cook, played by Drayton Sawyer, and an airtight grandpa. Sally endures a prolonged nightmare's ordeal, culminating in a grotesque family dinner sequence and a frantic escape at dawn. The film ends with her hysterical survival and Leatherface's iconic manic chainsaw dance against the rising sun. The structure is depravity, simple and linear, building from everyday tension to unrelenting terror. It runs a tight 83 minutes, with little exposition or backstory for the killers. Marilyn Burns as Sally Hardesty, the prototype final girl. Her performance is raw and physical, with screaming, running, and enduring extreme distress that feels authentic due to the production conditions. Gunnar Henson as Leatherface, a towering, childlike yet terrifying figure. Hooper directed him to play the character as mentally impaired and reactive rather than pure sadistic. His physical and the mask, crafted from real materials and heat-warped, made him iconic. Paul A. Parton as Franklin, the disabled brother whose vulnerability and occasional irritability heightens the group's tension. Supporting roles, Neil as the hitchhiker, Sydal as the cook, Terry McMinn as Pam, and etc. featured mostly local Texas unknowns, contributing to the documentary realism. Hooper and cinematographer Daniel Barrow created a documentary-type, almost cinema verite aesthetic with handheld camera work, natural lighting, and long takes that emphasize oppressive heat, dust, and decay. Much of the violence occurs in broad daylight, subverting horror conventions of nightmare shadows. Key kills, the first hammer blow, the meat hook sequence, are suggested more than shown in graphic detail. Cutting on action, sound design, the chainsaw's roars, screams, ambient noise, and a sparse, unsettling score, co-composed by Hooper, and implications force the audience's imagination to fill in the blanks, often making it more disturbing than illicit gore. Art direction by Robert A. Burns fills the house with bone furniture, skulls, and slaughterhouse detritus, creating a lived-in nightmare of decay. The sound design is masterful, radio chatter of real-world chaos. The generators hum, and the chainsaw's mechanical screens turn everyday industrial tools into instruments of horror. Editing is precise and relentless once the killing begins, with little relief. Notably, the film is far less gory than its title and reputation suggests. Hooper aimed for a PG rating originally, impossible given the content, and focused on psychological and sensory assault over bloodletting. The film operates on multiple levels. Industrial and economic horror. The Sawyer family are displaced slaughterhouse workers, made obsolete by technology. Their cannibalism becomes a grotesque extension of meatpacking. Humans reduced to livestock. This ties into critique of industrial agriculture, capitalism, and the industrial sublime turned nightmarish. The killers form a grotesque parody of the nuclear family. Dysfunctional, patriarchal, traditional in their rituals, yet monstrous. Contrasted with the young hippie victims, it invokes generational conflict, the failure of 1960s idealism against the 1970s economical and social decay. City kids blunder into a hidden ritual underclass. The film captures the sense of America as vast and full of unseen horrors. Opening radio reports of distress underscore a broader societal breakdown. Flesh is meat, humans are animals. The emphasis on corpses, skin, and consumption strips away romanticism. Violence often feels random and pointless. There is no grand conspiracy or supernatural force, just mundane, brutal survival and family loyalty twisted into atrocity. Interpretations range from vegetarian allegory to anti-capitalism critique to commentary on white working class resentment, disability, and the end of the progressive dreams. Initial reviews were mixed. Many were shocked by its intensity. It faced bans and moral panic, but developed a massive cult following. It influenced the entire slasher wave, Halloween, Friday the 13th, etc., as well as films like Alien, which Ridley Scott had cited it, and countless others in its use of isolation, mass killers, and relentless pursuit. Leatherface has become one of horror's great icons. The film's low-budget ingenuity, atmosphere of authentic dread, and cultural resonance have kept it relevant for over 50 years. It spawned a long, uneven franchise, while the original stands apart from its purity and power. In essence, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre succeeds because it feels less like a constructed movie and more like a found document of pure, unfiltered nightmare. Hot, sweaty, smelly, and inescapable. Its intelligence lies in how technique, performance, and implication combines to assault the senses while inviting deeper readings of a fractured America. Now, the real-life inspiration people always ask about. The film is not a true story. There was never a chainsaw massacre in Texas, but Tobe Hooper and Kim Heckel did draw from real darkness, primarily the crimes of Ed Gein, the butcher of Plainsfield, Wisconsin. Gein was a grave robber and murderer active in the 1950s. He killed at least 2 women and dug up many more corpses, mostly single-age women who reminded him of his domineering mother. When police searched his farmhouse in 1957, they found furniture upholstered with human skin, lampshades, and wastebaskets made of skin, and masks crafted from human faces that Gein had preserved and somehow worn. Hooper had heard voices about this man as a young child from Wisconsin relatives. They never used Gein's name, but described the guy who dug up graves and kept bones and skins in his house. To a kid, it was pure boogeyman material. Those details, the skin mask, the bone furniture, the isolated house of death, fed directly into Leatherface and the Sawyers' home. Hooper had mentioned a doctor he knew who claimed that, as a pre-med student, he had skinned a cadaver's face and worn it as a Halloween mask. That image stuck too. Some accounts also nod to the Houston mass murders involving Dean Corll and Elmer Wayne Henley in the early 1970s as a more local Texas influence, particularly around the victimization of young people. But the plot itself, the specific group of friends, the chainsaw rampage, the dinner from hell, is pure invention. The based on a true story marketing was brilliant showmanship that made the fiction feel even more dangerous. When the film hit theaters on October 1974, it caused a storm. It was banned or heavily censored in multiple countries, and critics were divided. Some dismissed it as pure exploitation, others recognized it as raw power. Audiences were shaken. It went on to gross around $30 million against its tiny budget. Its influence is everywhere. And on every August 18th, fans still gather to watch it on the big screen. 50 plus years later, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre still works because it feels less like a constructed movie and more like something that was found. It takes real-world horrors, filters them through pure cinematic invention, and delivers an experience that gets under the skin and stays there. And that, my friends, is the story of the Texas Chainsaw Day, and the film that made the date legendary. If you've never seen the original 1974 version, and it's before the 18th of August, be sure to check out your local movie theater, as the date hasn't escaped them. Several screens should be showing it. If not, try to seek out the best restoration you can find, preferably with the low lights and volume up. Failing that, a vintage VHS watch would be ideal. Just maybe don't watch it right before a road trip through rural Texas. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check back next month when we deep dive into yet another aspect of the genre. So until then, stay safe out there, and if you hear a chainsaw in the distance, you better start running.
You have just been listening to 13 Pods of Horror, a Planet Geek production. Please be sure to download, subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can buy us a coffee by going to ko-fi.com/planetgeekpod. On different social medias, you can search for either Planet Geek Productions or Planet Geek Pod. You can also reach out to us via email at planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.